Reflections of Purpose.
Good afternoon. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is Karen Sims, and this is Twisted Threads. You joined us for our Reflections of Purpose. Today, we are glad that you joined us. As always, remember to like and share. Visit our YouTube channel and subscribe so you don't miss a thing as we continue forward with our Reflections of Purpose. As always, we get right into it. Hopefully, you can catch up and share as needed. Today, we will be talking about the topic Brainwash Decoding. Brainwash Decoding. And I like to say it twice just for effect, dramatic. But when we think about brainwashing, I normally tell a story when people ask me questions about my childhood and different things. And I tell them that Linda and Ulysses, who are my mom and dad, brainwashed me fully in some areas. And so people normally look at me like, brainwash? I don't understand. Well, there's a way you could think about it, and maybe brainwash is a deeper way to put it. But there are certain things that we believe because we've been told that our entire lives. There are certain practices and traditions that we just follow because we've always done it that way. In business, normally when you hear that, well, we've always done it that way, that makes you cringe because you want to figure out, are you doing something the most efficient way? Is it the best for the people who are participating in it? But we don't always think about that when it comes to our personal lives. And so today, as we're thinking about brainwash decoding, this is really an opportunity for us to think about for us to overcome our limiting thinking and beliefs. And so a lot of times we don't think about a thought limiting the way that we think about life, limiting the way that we make decisions. But there's certain things that I could say right now when we would always say, money is the root of all evil. And people would be like, oh, I don't want, more money, more problems. These are things that will sometimes cause us to shrink back from things that will bring money because we think that it's associated with evil. Now, in my mind, I usually flip it around and I often say that I believe that cash is the love language that is shared by me and all my family members. So Gary Chapman has 5 love languages that he promotes, and gifts is one of those. I don't believe that cash falls in line with any of the 5 that he has, but I'm always very excited when people decide to give me cash. But that's a personal thing for me. That causes me to think about money in a different way. It causes me to think about my relationship with money and my finances in more of a positive way than just to think, oh, money is the root of all evil. Because then sometimes those things get into our mind and we don't really think about how they affect us to push forward. Another one is no pain, no gain. Well, we hear that a lot in the beginning of the year, thinking about everybody's going to the gym and if it hurts. Who wants to hurt on purpose? Not me. Don't sign me up for that. So that's normally the thing that a lot of people would think of. I don't want to do it if it's going to hurt me. I don't want to have pain in my life. And so I'll shy away from the difficult things. And we don't always think about how we limit our thoughts by just a common adage that we just say over and over again. Well, there's certain things, I would always share with my parents, and I tease with my dad often. I tell him that he knew that I was going to be a problem on the day I was born. He didn't have to wait until I was terrible 2 or preteen or teenage years. You knew from the first day I came into this earth and you looked at her and named her Karen that one is going to be a problem. And so I tease him now often when we get into conversations and he's like, well, you need to listen to your father. It's like, yeah, but you knew this was going to be an issue. Sometimes we got to go through the list of what are the self and thought limiting beliefs that we have. Sometimes it's on the basis of religion. A lot of times it may be on the basis of love. Challenging times comes, especially those who are either raising children in maybe not the happiest environment or You may have a failed relationship that they've been able to see and not really sure how to push forward in those thoughts of, we help to shape our children's belief about the decisions they make in their life. So a lot of single parents have to be careful to make sure that they show their children not just love in their lives, but how to love. I love it because I had one gentleman that I was dating, and I would always say, I'm not bringing anybody around my children. And I know a lot of us say that, and I wasn't swinging doors, so it wasn't any of that going on. But I was very strategic about who I wanted to be around my children, and so it was one of those things that I had made the decision: nobody will be around my children, and I will date. And this was a one person, me and him relationship, and we had a conversation because he asked the question, "Well, what is your issue with me being around your children because we're dating?" And one of the things I just was like, I don't want them to see anybody else. I didn't really have a reason, honestly. It was just something that I was brought up to say, you don't have the revolving door. But here's the challenge. And he challenged me on this. He challenged me on it because he said, well, if we are loving each other in the way that we should, how will your children ever know what a positive relationship looks like if you never show them anything? Now, I don't get speechless too many times in my life. That's why you all keep pressing play when you see these reflections of purpose. But I had to think about that. Because this was somebody who meant a lot to me. I felt like he was a good role model around my children. I didn't have any issue with him as a person. But in my mind, it was nobody can be around my children. Nobody can be around my family. And that to me is the only way that you really get to see, is this person going to have some longevity in your life? Now, you don't have to introduce them as uncle this and uncle that. And I'm not down for that. You figure out how you want to do that. But you got to figure out, how do you make the changes? And so in that conversation with that gentleman, it caused me to think about what made me believe that there was only one way to do this. What made me believe that was the brainwashing. And so I had to go through the brainwash decoding. And when I thought about that, it really caused me to think about how I needed to break my change barrier. And so it was like, nope, this is a hard and fast rule. This is what we're going to do. I don't want to hear anything else about it. And we're going forward. When it comes to the brainwash decoding, you got to think about the areas that you need to break those chains and those barriers in your limiting beliefs. And so as you think about that, it's some of the stuff we were told it was lies and deception. No other way to put it. The lies and deception of Santa Claus, the lies and deception of the Easter Bunny. Now, look, if you letting your kids watch this, you figure out how to explain all of that to them. We have sold the Tooth Fairy. Like, this chick is coming every night to somebody's house, taking money out of our pockets for some rotten teeth. I got questions. That's all I'm going to say on that. I got questions. Why do I need to pay for rotted teeth that's falling out? But I followed along, and my children will wait up all night long to make sure that they got their money for their rotten teeth. But we had a sliding scale in my house. That's all we're going to say. If it was too small, you only got, $1. If it was a big one and it looked like it was in good condition, you might get a little bit more. But then what do you do with all these teeth as you collected them? Anyway, that's a whole nother story. Lies and deception. You got to bring them out. Bring them out. We used to party to a song, and it's like, bring them out. Bring what? You need to know what it is that you're dealing with. So brainwash decoding, ask the questions. Sometimes that means ask grandma, ask daddy, ask mommy, ask auntie, how come we do the things that we do? And we'll get the stories. We'll understand why there are. And some of this we've got to realize and recognize the importance that it plays in even our health aspirations, where we're trying to figure out what things we want to do to become healthy. But we need history. We need the history of heart disease. We need to know if there's a history of cancer in our family. We need to know if there's a history of not telling family business. And then we we create more harmful situations than the ones that we were trying to protect our families from. Why? Because we gotta bring it out. We gotta break down the lies and deceptions. We gotta call them out for what they represent. Because some of the things we just do because that's just the way that it's always been done. Because nobody has represented another opportunity for us to create a new way of thinking, a new way of life, a new way of doing things. I love it because in my office we often say, "In God we trust, everyone else must verify." That means you're not just gonna come over here and spew some garbage and then I'm just gonna collect it because who you are. People treat you and are only able to give you knowledge from where their knowledge base is. So if you know that something is 50 years old and there's no way that it could still be relevant today, then you got to question that. You know, I'm a rebellious person in just kind of the way that I do things, but I'm rebellious in the fact of, no, I'm not trying to break things down, but I do want to understand why. And hopefully you press play on here because you want to understand why as well. So thinking about brainwash decoding. Sit down. You know, we usually have some type of homework that comes with this. Think about those things that your family has said to you. And sometimes it may have been directly to you in a derogatory way. And you got to flip that thing around. I remember somebody once used the term "considering me," and they were like, "You are relentless." And I just always remember that in a way of, I took it immediately as a negative thing. You got to turn that thing around. So the whole thing with the brainwash decoding, as you're thinking about it, think of those negative things that may have once been said to you and figure out how you can turn it around into a positive outcome, because you're right. I mean, he was right. He said, "You are relentless." And I absolutely am. But I'm relentless in the fact to hopefully these messages being something that inspires you, that impacts your life to transform yourself into something new. You joined us for our Reflections of Purpose. This is Twisted Threads. Remember to like and share these videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you will never miss a beat when it comes to everything that's going on with us in Twisted Threads. Always, please make it an amazing day. Be great.
Reflections of Purpose.